I think it was a sociologist called John Janis. I don't know if any of you have ever come across his work. He wrote a fantastic piece on Kennedy's first administration. And let me remind you of that great administration in 1960. Kennedy's administration went down, supposedly, as one of the most brilliant administrations of all time. And yet that was the same administration that brought the Western world closer to the Third World War than at any other times, culminating in the famous Bay of Pigs. So how was it that this brilliant group of people made a series of decisions which brought us to the brink of some kind of nuclear war? And Janis's proposal is this. It's a clever piece of work. He did a profile on every single person that was involved in making that decision. And he discovered the following, that they were all exactly the same. They were all male, they were all in their mid-40s, they were all Harvard educated, they were all from the East Coast of the United States, they were all from Massachusetts, they were mostly Catholic, they were almost all from the city of Boston. They were all exactly the same. And that's what happens when decision-making is concentrated in the hands of people who are all exactly the same. And we have learned that. We have learnt that a bit, innovation, and the award winners have learnt it as well. I'm not that fond of the phrase coming out of Stanford right now that innovation is a contact sport, but you know what I mean about being a contact sport. It's when different people bump up against each other in different ways. And we've got our own examples here. I think my current favourite is a well-known designer called Jonathan Ive. Jonathan Ives is known for two things and not known for one of them. He's known for being the chief designer of Apple. He's known for being the designer of the single most iconic product in today's marketplace, which is the iPod. What Jonathan's not known for is that he's from Newcastle. Jonathan Ives is from Newcastle. He's one of us. And I had the opportunity to talk to him about the innovation which went into Apple. Not a lot of technological innovation, as you probably know, a lot of process innovation. He told me a very interesting thing. He said of all the products that he's ever been involved in designing, the iPod was the first and the only one in which the team of designers came into the development of the product right at the first and the earliest stages of its development, from science to technology to manufacturing. And what happened, and I don't know if William Morris is out there somewhere, but I think I saw him, and I hope, William, I've got that in the right order. And what happened, says Jonathan, is that traditionally, we, the designers, were put in right at the end, given the finished product, and said, make this look beautiful. With this, we came in right at the beginning. We sat with the scientists, we sat with the technologists, we sat with the manufacturers, the engineers, and when they asked us who were we said, well, we're the designers. And they said, good, we need you in right at the beginning. And I think that is what happens when collaboration understands the process of innovation. Different people bumping up against each other in different ways. I have a little sign in my office attributed to Frank Whittle, the great jet engineer. And Whittle said, it was only my passion for art which fueled my interest in engineering. And here it is again, art and engineering. You wouldn't have expected it, but it produced one of the great engineers of our time. And I really do think that of those three pillars of innovation, the KTPs are a fantastic expression of that first one, collaboration. Second one, the second great pillar of innovation, which I think your award winners understand today, is the role of capital. Fiona said that one of the things I've done in my career is that I work with Ronald Cohen at Apex Partners. Apex, as you know, is probably the largest private equity group in Europe. And Ronald always used to say to us that when he raised the first venture fund at Apex in 1981, he raised £10 million. And everyone said to him, what on earth are you going to do with £10 million? I mean, how can you possibly invest £10 million in innovative companies? When I left Apex a number of years ago, the last fund that we raised was $4 billion. And I think what those pioneers of venture capital understood is that you can deploy small amounts of really targeted finance in a liberating and catalytic kind of way. I think it's the kind of thing that the TSB does particularly well. Don't underestimate the role in the innovative society of those small, catalytic, patient amounts of capital, which might not be always looking for an immediate return at the next publication of the quarterly management accounts, but they know one thing. Patient capital knows that innovation is a long process, and you've got to stick with it, and I think that's what our award winners have learnt as well. On September 24th, 1961, President Kennedy stood up in front of the two houses of Congress, And he said that we will put a man on the moon within 10 years. And of course that was influenced by Sputnik, and of course that was influenced by the Cold War. And by the way, in parentheses, of course he didn't. But it did one more thing. That powerful national galvanizing statement of what an innovative United States of America could look like mobilized the imagination and the aspiration, and here's that word, the belief of tens and thousands of young engineers, technologists, designers, and academics to believe that they could make their country into something else. And I have to say that when it comes to innovation, they absolutely did. And 25 years later, there's a lovely piece of work which was done in South Korea which showed that that sense of national galvanizing purpose is more significant in fostering the innovative society than all the regulation and all the tax cuts and all the bureaucracies in the world. If you can create a society in which people actually believe that these types of things are achievable, that great innovative breakthroughs are achievable, you can transform the country. And it's happening all over the world. And I told you my favorite example is Finland. You know Finland. In the 1990s, unemployment at 15%, a banking crisis, a GDP, government debt of 60% of GDP. This country was in meltdown. It had lost its natural trading partner in 1990, the former Soviet Union, and it had nothing. And the Prime Minister of Finland, an extraordinary man called Esko Aho, went to a rubber manufacturing company, a not very well-known rubber manufacturing company, and said, you need to be doing something other than manufacturing rubber. And we will put together, here's that phrase again, small amounts of public finance to help you transform yourselves into a high-tech giant. And today we call it Nokia. But it wasn't just about Nokia. It was about the galvanizing effect that it had on the fabric of Finnish society. And I have to tell you in conclusion that I absolutely and passionately believe that nothing less than the future of Britain, both in terms of its economic competitiveness and its social well-being, is at stake when it comes to galvanizing the power and the potential and the passions of people like yourselves in this room. I profoundly believe that it's nothing less than the future of this country. And I want to particularly congratulate all the award winners today. Thank you very much.